In this video, we're going to go over the while loop. Let's open up a new class, and we're going to name this class int guess or integer guess. Go ahead and give it a program header. Alright, so this program will let you guess until you get the correct integer 1 through 10. We're going to have to put a scanner because the user is going to be guessing. So let's make a scanner, and we'll name it console. And that'll be a new scanner, and then system.in, and of course we also have to import a scanner. Now before we get started on the program, we want the computer to pick a random number between 1 through 10 that the user will attempt to guess. So this time, instead of using math.random, we're going to use a class. And it's going to be the random class, and let's name that R, and that's going to be assigned to a new random integer or a random number. Again, this is a class that's already been created, so go ahead and import that, and it's import java.util.random, just like scanner except with random. Now we're ready to get started. We want the program to tell the user to try to guess an integer. So system.out.println, and we're going to say try to guess my number between 0 and 10. Now let's assign a couple different integers. So we're going to assign a random integer. So integer random int is going to call on that random value r, and we're going to say r.next integer. And the way this random integer works is that if you enter 10 in, it will display or pick a random number 0 through 9. If you enter in 11, it would pick a random number from 0 to 10. In our case, we want a number between 0 and 10, so that will be 1 through 9. Right now, we have 0 through 9. To get to 1, we would add 1 to that, so our starting point is now going to be 1 as opposed to 0. But now it's going to be 1 through 10, so we're just going to take one more away from this and put random integer 9. So that random integer 9 stands for integers 0 through 8, and then we're adding 1 to that. So in turn, that will be numbers 1 through 9. Now we need to make an integer for what the user types in. So let's just name that guess because that will be the user's guess. So integer guess is going to be assigned to the console dot next int, so what they type in. Right now we have it set up to where it's going to ask for a number. The random number is going to be picked, and the user will try to guess it in the console, and that number that they guess is going to be assigned to integer guess. We want this program to run until the person guesses the number correctly. This is where the while loop will be used. So while the guess does not equal the random int. So this says while guess does not equal random int. Not equal is displayed with an exclamation point and an equal sign. Equals would be two equal signs. Not equals and equals would be a Boolean value. That's saying that it's one of two options. It's either true or it's either false. So while guess does not equal the random integer, is saying while this statement is true. Or I could change it up to while the guess is equal to the random integer, so while that statement is true, and it would run the code underneath. Other Boolean values would be yes or no, or 1 or 0. There's 1 or 2 options, and that's used for a while loop. While this statement is true, so while the guess does not equal the random integer, it will run what is between the while brackets, which we will insert. While the guess does not equal the random integer, we want the computer to tell us that it's not equal. And we're going to say try again. They can just assume that they got the answer wrong. So when somebody guesses and the guess is not equal to the random integer, it's going to tell us to try again. And if it's asking the user to enter another guess in, we need to assign a new guess value. So guess is now going to be assigned to the console.nextInt. So now the new guess is what they're going to type in. Now the user can guess again. If it's not equal to the random integer, it's going to say try again, and they're going to guess again. And it'll keep going within this loop until this statement is false. So once the guess is equal to the random integer, after the while statement, we are going to write what we want the program to do if the guess is equal to the random integer. So we're going to say system.out.println, and we'll just say you got the answer correct. We're assigning the console to be the scanner. We're saying that R is going to be some random value. We're going to ask them to guess the number between 0 and 10. Now, we're assigning an integer that's random, and we're calling on that R that we assigned to the random class, and we're saying a random integer 0 through 8 plus 1. So that will be random integers 1 through 9. Now we're setting that the integer guess is going to be equal to what the user types into the console. Then it's going to test. It's going to say, is that guess not equal to the random integer? If it's not equal to the random integer, it's going to go into this loop. So it's going to keep testing the next guess until the guess is equal to the random integer. That would be everything else besides not being equal. Then it would print, you got the answer correct, and the program will stop. Let's go ahead and run this and test out our code. So try to guess a number between 0 and 10. I'll start with 1. Try again. I guess it wasn't right. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The answer was 6, so I got it correct. Let's run it again. Let's start off with 5 this time. It's not 5. I'll go to 4. It's not 3. It's not 2. The answer was 1 that time. So once I typed in 1, I got the answer correct. This is just a simple introduction to the while loop. The while loop is useful when running a program until something is true. When you want your program to do something until a certain result is achieved. That's when you would use a while loop. It's different from a for loop because in a for loop, you know the specific number of times that the loop will be run. In a while loop, you do not know how many times that loop will be performed. It could be performed as little as 1 or as many as 100 different times, or even more times depending on the circumstance. But in this case, there's really only 10 attempts. So it could take us all 10 attempts to guess the number, or it could take us as little as 1 attempt.